Hello, and welcome to my new moon and tarot card reading for December, the end of December 2022 for Capricorn. This is the last reading of this year. What a year it has been. I have my Spotify 2022 Wrapped playlist going in the background, so I feel like we're bringing the energy of this year into this card reading already. Yeah, we're going to pull three cards, one for the collective now, one for the individual now, and one for the highest possibilities for the next lunar cycle. So this will carry us into 2023. I am using the OSHO Zen tarot deck. And yeah, I'm going to pull cards for this, and then we'll do an extended, which will have wisdom from our guides. So settle in, get a cup of tea or water, and let's just see what there is for us to look at. I tune in when I do these card readings to, like, what's the feeling? What's the vibe? What's the energy of the collective experience on our planet right now? Like, what's the overall movement of energy, and how is it translated through the cards? And then how does that apply to us? So, yes, we are in this soup of humanity, in this collective thing called life on Earth, and we're here for an individual experience. We're here for what we chose to come, create, express, move through us as a soul in a human body. And so we look at both macro and micro, and then we ask for some help. Some help for guidance as we move into the next lunar cycle. Capricorn energy, very much about details, following the rules, organization, structure, wise. Capricorns are wise. They remember so much. So there's a lot of good here in this space for us. Okay, let's take a look. I've been shuffling the deck while we've been talking. I'm going to pull the top three cards. So the first one will be the collective now. Ripeness. We just got ripeness, didn't we? Ripeness is beautiful for the collective. We'll look at that in a second. The individual now. Oh boy. Yeah. Yes, there is something magical for us to talk about today. Source. The source. And then the highest possibilities for the next lunar cycle, projections. Do not be fooled, because the card in Zen often is the opposite of the thing that it says. So it says projections, but it's most likely about don't project. See past the projections. All right, let's take a look. So we're going to start with the collective now. I'm going to let you experience it for yourself. What do you notice about this card? What jumps out at you first? What do the colors, the images bring up for you? When you connect this image to the collective humanity, all billions of humans that are alive at this time on our planet, what does it show you or teach you? So this card in the deck talks about, if you notice, this one fruit that's on the ground, that we are all ripe for the plucking, for the fruit to be harvested. And so, yes, there's this, but look, one is already harvested here at the bottom. You're in this phase of ripeness. You're in this phase of the completion of a cycle. So if you think about a fruit on a tree, I mean, we're going to go way back to the origin. Last month we talked about origin, remember, in Mastery? If you go back to the origin, so you were a soul that decided to come be in a human body here on this planet. So there's this seed, literally a seed that is implanted in a woman's body, fertilized, and then grows inside of the female, and then is birthed as a baby, as a tiny, tiny little thing, a little sprout on a branch on a tree that one day is going to be this. Like one day we're going to grow into a fruit. How can that be? We're just this tiny, tiny little thing. And then the cycle begins, right? So for a fruit on a tree, the cycle begins, and it receives the sun and the nourishment and the rain and the wind and the experience of the growth that is happening in nature in every moment. And it becomes, from this tiny little seed, becomes, what is this, an apple? A gorgeous apple, ripe, ready to drop from the tree down to the ground. So compare that to the collective humanity. So we have a constant cycle. It's not just one season. As this one is ripe, There's another one that's just seated. There's another soul that's arriving into a human body that's just about to begin the journey. It's just a constant cycling of humans through this planet. But the fact that this card is pulled for the collective overall experience, it feels like the message is, as a humanity, as a collective, all of you, that season of humanity has evolved. Not just my cycle of a lifetime, your cycle of a lifetime, the babies that are coming in now, their cycle of a lifetime. The whole of humanity as an experience has been going through its own cycle. So from the seed of humanity, the first humans that were actually living and walking and moving around on this planet, to now where we have billions of us walking around on this planet. That has been a season, a cycle that humanity has been moving through. And now we're at this collective moment of ripeness. We're at the end. And this feels so connected to me, to the age of Aquarius, to just all the shifts that are happening. When you look at astrology, they talk about March 2023 as just being a ripe moment for humanity, a moment of evolution that is just going to be like cosmically profound. We've talked about in the past, December 2021, when I don't know all the names of everything, but there was this beautiful thing that happened. Remember some activation that happened December 21st, I think it was, which is tomorrow, 2021, and how that activated this shift that was going to go all the way through until March 2023. There's a season that humans are moving through as a collective species. And I believe we're in a time of ripeness. I believe we're in a season where we have learned, we have mastered, we have experienced, and we are now ripe for the plucking, ripe for the evolution. We are here to share the fruits, to be the brilliance of a human being, and then share that with, I don't know, with who? With nature? With God, with source? Well, maybe, because the individual is the source. So maybe we're ripe for the individual experience of being the source. Maybe because if you look, there's like stars and the moon out here. So it's like you can see this tree, which is very much Earth, 3D nature tree. And yet through the tree, you can see the universe. So maybe is the species of Earth ripe for communication with other species, with extraterrestrial species, with other planets, with other thought forms, with consciousness that is not in a human form? Could it be that the source that is the origin of every individual, like this is where the soul comes from. The soul comes from the source. The source. And we call it all different names, right? We call it God or Buddha or I don't even know. There's so many names. So we call it the universe, one, I am, consciousness. I mean, there's an infinite. We call it the infinite. There's an infinite number of names. But this is the origin of all the souls that come here to be fruit. So I know I'm fast forwarding because I want to let you see that card. But if we look at the collective now, and we look at it through the lens of ripeness, the season is coming to a time of harvest. There is a shift perhaps that is happening collectively that allows us to offer all the fruits of who we are. What is the best? And I love that this ties in also as we talk about AI so much on social media right now, artificial intelligence. There's this way that the species, the human being, has been evolving. So when you think of what we see in the museums, the caveman, beating its chest, dragging the woman by the hair. I hope we've evolved, as most of us have past that. There's this original way of a human being and moving around. And we have learned how to craft, how to think, how to develop, how to research, how to evolve, how to create something new, how to create a lifestyle now for many that is far from the caveman. Yes, you can still be a human on this planet and come in at the entry level. There are people who live in caves, and there are people who don't have a lot of communication verbally or technologically with the rest of the world. You can have that experience. But as a species, the human beings have been evolving, have been moving through a season, moving through a cycle. So what does ripeness mean for the human being? Is it AI? Is it that we hand over the human experience to artificial intelligence? That we say, okay, the human itself with individual thinking and creativity and expression is evolved to the maximum it can be, and now we hand over and the species becomes robots? Or do we find that there's an end, there's a fruitfulness to the connection with technology that has come to its completion, and now maybe we take back into our own hands some of the ways that we express and create and move, evolve? I don't know. That's what's so cool about Earth, is it's a collective experience, and no one person decides for anyone. They might think they can. One person may think that they can decide for the whole of the humanity, but they cannot. They cannot, and there's a lot of that uprising that is happening where one is trying to dominate. In the age of Aquarius, hello, why would you even try? One is trying to dominate a country or a culture or a governmental political structure or an economic society. One is trying to dominate, and in the age of Aquarius, that doesn't fly. It's not going to work. It doesn't work. This is not a tree with one apple. Here, this was my tree, mine. You can't be on my tree. I'm the only apple in the whole tree, and I decide what happens. No, it's a tree. It's an apple. It's like all of it. And within the season of humanity coming to a place of ripeness, individuals are going to begin to express their fruits in different moments. But we're all ripe for the picking. We're all ripe for that expression. So what do you do? If this is the collective experience, that we're at this time, this threshold of being ready to share our fruits, what do you do as an individual? Well, what do you feel when you see this card? What does it bring up in you? Allow yourself to really breathe and look at the colors, look at the movement of energy. Allow yourself to just be present. What do you feel when you look at this? I don't know if you've ever seen those, I don't know quite how to describe it. It's like a picture within a picture within a picture. And there's a computer animated version, but there's also other ones. As you go into the picture, it's like another whole world opens up inside of that picture. And as you go into the next one, another whole world opens up inside of that. And so each image, they do this well with mushrooms. I've seen beautiful videos that have been created digitally with mushrooms, where you go into a mushroom and then there's like a whole landscape of more mushrooms. And you go into another one and there's another whole landscape. The universe, there's images that have been put out of, the telescopes that look at a black hole or a nebula, and then within that there's like another whole reality or galaxy, and that's what I feel when I look at this card. It's like there is no end to this infinite source, the source, not a source of energy, the source. It's light and color and circles. It's not hierarchical. It's not like you're at the source and then you're lower than the source and you're lower than the lower of the source, then you're the lowest of the source. It's like, no, you just keep going into the center, and there's more and more depth behind the center. You just keep going into a deeper and deeper experience. When we apply this card to the individual now. So we say, okay, collectively, we're in a season of ripeness. How does this one apple here know that it's time to fall from the tree, that it's time to bear fruit? How does one in the collective know? Well, the individual answer would be the source. You go inward. You go inward into your own knowing. You go inward into your own ripeness, your own seed. So if we take that all the way back to the soul choosing to come here and have a human experience, go all the way back to the origin. Why did you come? What did you come here to contribute? What as a soul compelled you to come do this whole journey of ripeness as a human being? To give up all infinite aspect of yourself and just be a baby that is dependent on everything around you, everyone around you, and learn from the beginning how to move and how to eat and how to walk and how to talk and how to create and how to express and how to follow the flock and how to separate from the flock and how to determine when it's your time to be the fruit that's ripe enough to fall to the ground. How? You go back to the origin. You remember the source. Why? You could go even further back than that. I talk about this a lot in my work, in the books I've written. So if you're the soul choosing to come have the human experience, you were a soul first before you came into a human body. What were you before the soul? Or where did the soul originate from? Where did the soul start? Here. In case you needed the answer. In case you didn't already know. Here. This is where you originated from. So if you're the soul choosing to come into earth and you're hanging here, behind you, way back, is source. And so you came from source and then you came to earth. And then you decide that you're ripe and you're going to share your fruits. So if you're stuck here and you're like, I don't even know what you're talking about. I don't even know what my fruit is. Am I an apple? Am I an orange? What am I? Like, I don't even know what my fruit is. And you're telling me that it's time and we're in a season and I have to know what my fruit is. What is my fruit? Breathe, relax, and go back to the source. Go back to the source. Go back to that original. You can trace it all the way back. Like, it's literally something you can do. Something, and by that I mean you have the tools to do it yourself. Maybe you free write, you journal, maybe you sit quietly in meditation. Allow yourself to follow the thread. So if this is the moment we're in, and you're like, okay, how did I become the apple on the ground, or the apple that's ready to drop to the ground? Well, go backwards through your physical human life and start to look for patterns, look for threads, look for, why would I choose to be in this city? Why did I choose to be in this work? Why did I choose to be in this family? What am I learning from all of this? What would the soul be experiencing and evolving into in this human story? Follow the thread all the way back. Go back to when you were a child. What were you learning from your parents? What were you learning from your siblings or your classmates at school? We hang on to the oh, and I do this. We're like, oh, it was so hard and it hurt and it was painful and I had all this trauma and there were all these things. Yeah, that is true. And let's empower ourselves. Why would a soul choose that? Why would my soul have chosen to come into this lifetime as Vivian and start in South Africa and end up here in Cincinnati and have an older brother and a younger sister and move all this? What would I want to learn? What would my soul want to experience that I would choose that story? That I would live that story, not just write about it as a soul. I would come in and I would live it. Well, I would choose strength. I would choose clarity. I would want to be remembering. I would be willing to forget. I would be a soul and I'd be willing to come into this planet and go, I'll forget it all. I'll forget everything. And then I'll start to remember. And oh my God, when I remember, it's going to be so much fun. Because then I'll remember like I didn't know before. And it's just going to be this magical, oh, I remember that. I remember that. I remember that. And then there will be this moment when I'll remember, oh, it's my turn. It's my turn to bear fruit. It's my turn to drop as the apple to the ground and go, let's make fruit salad. Let's eat. Let's make apple pie. I make a really good apple pie. Let's eat apple pie. I will be ready to contribute. Give my season, my cycle back to the collective experience. So you can trace your journey all the way back to the origin of when you were a child, when you were a baby, if you can remember that far back. Some people do. And then see if you can make the connection to the soul. Like the soul chose to come here. Why would you choose Earth? Why Earth? Why Gaia? Why a human form? You could be anywhere in the universe. Why would you have chosen this planet? Once we're here, we think it's the only place. It's kind of like, I don't know, like once you go to a college, or once you join a fraternity or a sorority, you're like, well, that's the best. That's the only one. It's the one I chose. It's the only thing that exists. Or like when you, like me, I love my Honda Pilot. Best car there is, the only car you need, Honda Pilot. Well, someone with a Subaru or a Mercedes or a Jaguar or a Toyota or a Hyundai, like they're going to have a whole different feeling. They're going to go, oh, mine's the best. Mine's the only. When we're here in Gaia, we tend to believe like, oh, that's all there is. So this card comes forward and it says, really? Really? Because this source doesn't have just a picture of Earth on it. It doesn't even have a picture of any planet on it. It doesn't even have a human on it. This picture of the source is just vibration, energy, light, color. There's no human in this card. There's no apples. There's no trees. There's not even a star or a universe. It's just light and frequency. So if you're this, if I'm this, if every single fruit and tree and plant and star and planet is this, how'd you end up here on Earth? How'd you end up in the story that you're living out? Why? Why did you choose to come have this experience? I mean, what a powerful way to wrap up 2022 with these questions. And then to step into 2023 with this at our back. Like, I'm here. I am the source. I am from the source of the source. I am the source. And so is every other apple on the tree here in this human realm. We're all this. So from that perspective, how do we show up as a humanity? If we truly are evolving as a species and now we're here, and this starts to come through, like you are the source. Remember, we are all from the source. And so we agree to come be on this planet for some specific reason. It's a time of ripeness. It's a time of contributing, of offering your gifts back to the collective. So why are we all here together in the same human experience at this moment? Why? Is there a reason? Are we here for some collective shift? Something to happen to birth through us? And until we recognize that we are the source, it's not going to happen because we still see ourselves as separate. Which brings me to the highest perspective, the highest offering from our guides for the next lunar cycle. Drink more water would be part of it. Projections. So what do you see when you see this card? I'll bring it a little closer. There's a lot happening here. And I know we've had this card before, but if you look at it in relationship to what I've just shared about a time of ripeness and being from the source, of the source, what would projections show you? As an overview, and we can look at it in detail. As an overview, what I would say is, if we are all here on this planet for some shift in consciousness, for some collective ripe experience that we've been waiting for, humanity as a collective species is moving to a different way, being, form of expressing, then this has to go. This is an old way. Projections is an old way. Projection says, I hide myself, my true self, behind this facade. I'll show you my facade. And the other is like, yeah, I do the same. I am this, but I have a facade. And so our facades are just constantly speaking to each other. My projection and your projections are just constantly in conversation. So it would be like this. Like there's actually me here, but I'm speaking to you from this story, this card, this lens. I'm like, yeah, this is actually what's true, but I'm hiding behind it and not letting you see me. So this card in the Zen deck says, drop the projections. Drop it. Drop the facade. Allow others to see who you actually are. And then speak to the one who is behind their mask. So perhaps an example would be helpful. So this is great for the holidays, right? Let's say you have a friend dinner, a family dinner, a work event. And so you put on your makeup and your pretty dress or your good looking outfit, and you walk into the party. You got your grin on. You're like, yeah, things are good. Yeah, it's been a great year. Looking forward to next year. Good working with you, good being friends with you. Yeah, no, family, like I have actually like fulfilled all the things I wanted to do. Everything is great. Yep. So that's one way to show up, right? Everything is handled. I got my shit together. I'm good. One way. Another way is to come in and be like projecting, like pushing your energy into someone else. So if you don't want them to see the real you, you'll just constantly deflect and you'll send things back to someone else. So it'll be like, oh, no, thanks for asking. What about you? I have done this for much of my life. It's how I navigated social settings for a long time. I'm like, oh, people love to talk about themselves. So don't talk about me. I'll talk about them. And I'm really good, very, very good at asking people questions to keep them in conversation. And it comes from a place of genuine interest. I am interested in humans. I'm interested in all the people that I meet and what their stories are and how they've made the choices that have brought them to this moment. I genuinely want to hear about it. And I'm very comfortable talking about their stories more so than like the me who's got all these things that are happening and being felt and experienced inside. What has helped me is to do the podcast. When I did the Guys Love podcast and I showed up every week, week after week after week, for a while there, at first it was every day, there was no deflecting. There's no projecting. It was, here I am. Here's what I'm experiencing. Here's what I'm feeling in my human journey. Here's what's actually true for me. Here's what's going on in my life. And so I could be myself and share that in a really authentic way. There's hundreds of episodes sitting on YouTube waiting for you if you want that kind of connection. I've learned how to be true and express that without needing to have a facade, a projected mask. So two ways, right? I come in and I'm like, everything's fine. We're all doing great, blah, blah, blah. Or I come in and I project and I deflect and I don't want you to see the real me. Well, if we're all doing that, which is what this card shows, all of us are all doing that all the time. Maybe not in every situation. Hopefully not. Hopefully we have places we can go and trust that we can just be ourselves there. But in many situations, and certainly on social media, we project this facade. We meet someone else's facade. And then those two facades are in conversation. Where's the source connection in that? Where's the heart connection in that? If we're all just dealing with mirrored images of each other, we're missing so much. We're missing so much. So I believe the individual card here of the source, go back to the origin. Why are you here on earth? Why did your soul choose this human journey? Why did all the other billions of souls choose this human journey at the same time as you? And if we are in a time of ripeness, can we drop this? I believe we can. The song that's playing right now from my playlist is Come Into Me. Is that what it says? Give into me. Give into me. Give into me. It's literally talking about like, drop everything and just come give into me. Be in this intimacy. Of course, right? What would happen? Just look at this card for a second. What would happen if all that stuff in the middle dropped? And it was just those two humans looking at each other eye to eye, just nothing in between. Can you imagine the possibilities? Yeah, it's going to be vulnerable. That's scary. It was scary to show up for my podcast. There were some days I'm like, I can't. I feel so vulnerable right now. I'm so in my stuff, but I'm going to show up and then you're going to see me. And also, that's what I want to give back. That's the example, the model, the way of being that I want to share, I want to express as a human. I don't want the facades anymore. I don't want everything's fine. No, we're doing great. I don't want that. Like, I want to hear how people are doing and I want to share how I'm doing. I want that real connection. And I believe that also is age of Aquarius. It's like, you may not understand me, I may not understand you, but I'm willing to sit here and have a conversation and try and see and listen and feel and leave more than what I was when I arrived, because I feel like we got each other. We connected for even a moment. It's the most beautiful way to be as a human. So, some big work happening on planet Earth right now. Those are some big cards as we wrap up 2022. We're ripe, go back to the source, and drop all the projections. Like, are you kidding? Are you kidding? Yeah, we can do this. We can totally do this. All right, I am going to wrap up this part of the video. I'm going to make an extended where I'll ask questions of our guides for deeper information on each one of those. Those are super fun. And then I will create a meditation after that, which will tie all of this together. And then I will also create our manifestation circle. So tomorrow night, we have a new moon circle here in Cincinnati, and tomorrow's Wednesday. On the solstice, it's winter solstice tomorrow. And so we'll all write our intentions onto this big sheet of paper, and then you send me yours once you've done the meditation. And then we release it to the stars 3 days later. I burn it and we send it out for receiving back, which is always so much fun. So I will be doing that next. You can find the link in the description below. I am also hosting a wrap-up of 2022 that I'm calling 2022 Strength. It's a guided energy visualization meditation process that will be on Wednesday, December 28th at noon. We'll all gather on Zoom. I'll guide us through this process. Everyone's lines are muted except for mine. I do this every year, and they are incredible completions. It's like you get to do all this stuff inside of yourself with this past year through the lens of strength. And then we release what no longer serves, steady ourselves. That night, there's a quietly listening session. So I've made a package that includes the 2022 Strength, the quietly listening session that night. And then 1 week later, on the 4th of January, we get together again at noon and we open up to all the possibilities of this next year. And I guide us through a visualization process where we bring that soul back in. We're like, tell us what's the best of the best of the best that we could manifest, that we could create for ourselves in 2023. And so the soul will drop all these nuggets into your awareness, and then you get to map out your year from that space. So all 3 of those calls are in a package. Well, the middle one's not a call. It would be an energy healing virtually. They're in a package for $222. You can do each one individually if you want for $111. It is magical, 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 magical. And then I created a video that talked about my new book, which is available on YouTube if you would like to check that out. It's called 2022 Wrap Up, and I share about this book that I just finished writing and how I will be sharing it with you. So it's very exciting. So there's lots of good stuff happening here. For now, drop the projections as much as possible. Be transparent, be authentic. Remember that you are the source, as is everyone else around you. And can we see that in each other? Because it's a time of ripeness. I send you so much love at this new moon in Capricorn, and as we wrap up 2022.